Hello and welcome to Learning with Lovo. Today will be an AV8B specific tutorial focused on the two main ways of landing on a runway. I'll go over the basics, then cover the specifics, and finally show examples. Let me know in the comments section below if you have any ideas for future videos you'd like to see, and check the description for timestamps and my Patreon information. Let's start with the basics. I will be going over hover landings in a later video, so today I will focus on the two main ways of doing so with forward movement: slow landings and conventional landings. A STOL flap fixed nozzle slow landing is going to be the most common way you land the Harrier by a wide margin. Conventional landings, as strange as it may sound, are just not what the AV8B was made for, but it can do them. You're in a Harrier and you want to land on an airfield. Assuming we are using the airfield pattern or an airfield brake, we have the upwind, then the brake or turn to the downwind, the 180, which is where we turn to final, the 90, the final, and finally touchdown. You would normally join the pattern on the downwind, taking care not to interfere with existing traffic. Then when there is space, turn to final and land, or turn upwind at brake speed and altitude to perform the brake, turn final and then land. The brake with a Harrier starts at 800 feet and 350 knots. You then perform a turn with idle throttle and speed brake out at 4G and or 10 AOA, whichever comes first. On the downwind, descend to 600 feet, configuring for landing at 250 knots, turning final and landing. The landing configuration and checks need to be done much faster from a brake than from the pattern. Let's take a look at the fixed nozzle slow landing. You performed your brake or turned onto your downwind. You should be at 250 knots or less, time to run the landing checklist. Gear down, flaps to STOL, stow stop clear, check duct pressure, check brake pressure, water as required. I'd recommend having water on unless you are very light. Turn on the tape recorder, check your warning lights and caution lights, and set external lights as needed. If you are using water, you can do the water check. Set water switch to takeoff, throttle up and check the green water light comes on. Throttle down and set the water switch as needed. I've highlighted in red here the checks I think you can reasonably do in DCS. You can check pressures, but unless you play with random failures on, they are unlikely to be wrong. The only information I can find for duct pressure is 45 psi for takeoff, so I can't tell you what they should read. The hydraulic accumulators should be 3000 to 1000 psi. You'll be a little way down the downwind by now, so let's crack on. Set your mode to VTOL. Set your nozzles to 60% and manage the lift with throttle to continue at your desired altitude. Check your flaps have extended all the way down, slow and trim so that 10 to 12 degrees AOA holds you level. From now you will adjust your pitch by adding or removing throttle and heading with small amounts of roll or rudder. You'll notice you're able to fly at a very low speed, meaning you won't need to wait very long to start your turn to final. I usually turn in shortly after drawing level with the start of the runway. Ensure there are no other aircraft on final or ahead of you who you may cut off. Gently turn in and begin a descent so that when you finish your turn, the 1000 foot markers are about 2 to 4 degrees below horizon on your hood. You have time to adjust with the slow speed you're flying at. Fly to the markers. Continue in this manner down to 50 feet, where you should pitch up to place the witch's hat 2 degrees above the horizon, and use the throttle to control your rate of descent to 200 to 400 feet per minute. Continue this down to touchdown. As you touch down, set throttles to idle and nozzles to full braking stop. When you are rolling straight, neutralize the pedals and engage nose wheel steering. You can use up to 70% RPM here to assist with braking as needed, but be careful, any more you may lift off again. When you slow to 60 knots, set throttles to idle and nozzles to less than 60%. Set water switch to off. Use your wheel brakes and nose wheel steering to exit the runway. That's the STOL flap fixed nozzle slow landing, or STOL. If you have a significant crosswind, you can perform an auto flap fixed nozzle slow landing. You will be thrown around a bit less, but you will need a higher approach speed, which means an extension of your downwind and a longer ground roll. Let's take a look at the conventional landing. You would fly a pattern or break the same as I've just described. However, you would need to extend much further on the downwind due to the higher speed you'll be flying at. So you've turned downwind or performed your break. Configure for landing and go through the checklist with the alterations of flaps remaining in auto, and you shouldn't need to use water. As you approach the 180, check your nozzles are aft, flaps auto, then slow and trim till 10 to 12 degrees AOA holds you level. From now you control pitch with the throttle and heading with roll and rudder. As I said, you will need to extend further than before. Check traffic and turn in when the start of the runway is about 45 degrees over your shoulder. Turn into final and fly to the 1,000 foot markers, with them about 2 to 4 degrees below the horizon. At 50 feet above the runway, pitch back to place the witch's hat 2 degrees above the horizon and use the throttle to maintain 200 to 400 feet per minute rate of descent. Fly this way to touchdown. Steer and slow yourself the same way as I outlined previously. There you have it, the two most common ways to land on an airfield. In future, I will go over landing on the carrier, hover landings and section landings. I'll leave you with examples of the landings I've described. Check timestamps to skip to one in particular. Leave me a comment if you like this or feel I've missed something. Let me know if you think of a video you'd like to see me make in future, and check out my Patreon to help me to continue to produce these tutorials. Thanks for watching, Learning with Lovo. Trying to maintain altitude while we go. Runway 27, so the downwind's going to be roughly 0.9. Trying to maintain speed just there for a little bit. Here comes the downwind. Right, here we are. So, gear down, flaps down, water takeoff power. W comes on, throttle down, water as desired. Lights are on, stove stops clear. No warnings. There is some ducks and there are some brakes. So, gear is down. We've got 4 greens. Speed's coming down, approaching the downwind. Nozzles to 60, let that speed drop, get the trim going, trimming up. There's the flaps kicking in just there. You can see they've gone to 61 degrees, that's 4 flaps. Let's roll back up. And that's maybe a little bit high on AOA. There we go, that's about alright. So a bit long here, but we'll turn it in now. You'll be telling the traffic that you're turning final. Don't have to descend too much because I forgot, I got to stick it in V-STOL mode. That's useful for a minute. So now we have the witch's hat, there it is. Just about on the horizon. Level it off there because we're just going slow enough that if I kept that turn going we would be left of the runway. There we go, we'll turn it in about now. So I'm going to put the go ahead and put the velocity vector just ahead of the 1,000 foot markers, which I can't remember if this runway actually has them painted, but where those skid marks are, that's roughly where we want to be touching down. However, we will float a little bit when we pitch up for touchdown, so that's why I'm going to be aiming slightly short. Bit of a wind from right to left today, so I'm going to finish with my velocity vector just to the right of the runway. Otherwise we'll be getting blown to the left if we were dead on. So yeah, coming in now through the feet to go. Waiting for that 50 feet to pitch up. Looking at my descent rate on the right hand side, it's currently 700 feet per minute right now. 100 feet altitude. I'll start pitching up now. There's that 2 degrees. I'll hold that rate of descent, but that's a little bit too little, and there we go, wheels down, nozzles back, 70% throttle, there's nose wheel steering, we're below 60 knots, so we can start using the brakes now, brakes on, put down a little bit more, nozzles back so I get the thrust for this turn. On speed, just about at altitude. Just waiting to get to the end of the runway and we will do the brake. So throttle down, speed brake out. Let's find 10 AOA. There it is. Getting ready on the gear. Gear out. Speed brake in. Flaps down. Nozzles. Power comes on. Rest that fall. A little bit low, wouldn't it be 600, it'd be found 500, so a bit of power there. There is our downwind, check the water. Water works, water on. Stove stop clear, lights on. 3 greens in the gear, flaps full. Things, pressures, no warning. Let's find V-STOL mode. There we go, need to start trimming. We got a little bit of time there. Nose comes up. More trim. A bit more. A little bit more. That'll do us for trim. So there's the threshold in return. A little bit of a descent here. I had to think about tracing those 5-degree markers around on the plane as if it was a circle around me. I'm thinking about where that runway lines up on it, and I think at the minute we're a bit high, so I'm going to have a bit of a descent like that. Here comes a turn to final. Keep that descent going. I'm almost there for about a 2 degree on those 1,000-foot markers. There it is, wings level. So 120 feet now, getting ready for that pitch up we'll do shortly. There it is, just drifting left, so I'll turn a little bit. And here we go, so nose up and throttle to control that. Whoops, little bounce. There it is. There it is, there we go. Nozzles back, beans on, nose wheel steering, now we're straight. And there's 60, so we can slow that down, we're under control. Can turn off the next taxiway. Okay, so here we are coming out of the turn to downwind. Get myself trimmed out a little bit better whilst I drop the gear. Keeping flaps in auto, don't need water. Lights are on, stove stops clear, pressures. I haven't got much duct pressure because the
Nozzles aren't back. Let's start that trim. We want to get to 10 degrees AOA. Got 4 greens. Let's give STOL mode. So that's 10 degrees AOA. Let's just get the speed up so we hold ourselves level there. A little bit more, so we're on about 11. There we go. So pretty much set up now. Obviously we're way past the threshold because we're going quicker now. I'll wait a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. And that's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and turn in onto final. We can drop a little bit of altitude as we come around here, but nothing too dramatic. Try and line yourself up as best as you can with the runway glide path as you roll out. I'm a little bit sharp there, so we'll start to drop some altitude now. I'll try and judge my approach as best as I can. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Want those 1,000-foot markers around 2 degrees below horizon. Just don't forget we are still going to do that little flare at the bottom that's going to let us glide. Check nozzles back, they are. Flaps in auto, they are. So we're sinking a bit there, a bit of power. There we go. So 100 feet coming up, there we go. Drifting left a little bit, correct that. There's 50, 2 degrees, 200 to 400 feet per minute. 300, 200, there's touchdown, nozzles back, power comes on, nozzle steering on, let the speed come down. There's 60, so we're right from there. There's no exits coming up, so I don't need to try and brake very hard. I can just roll this out. Now we can put our nozzles somewhere safe. Maybe even add a little bit of power to get to there, but there you go. There is your conventional landing.